Today in our 2018 Chevrolet Equinox, we're going to be installing Roadmaster's EZ5 baseplate kit, part number RM-523193-5. This baseplate is going to allow you to hook your vehicle up to the back of your RV, so you no longer need to get a dolly or trailer to haul that car behind you. The detachable arms can be removed by releasing the pin here and sliding and spinning it outward. This way, when you're not hauling your vehicle behind your RV, you can remove these. You don't have to worry about those hitting anything when you're parking. There's a location on each side of the baseplate to hook up a safety chain, so when you're flat towing it behind your RV, you've got that extra layer of security. There's two brackets located on your baseplate, one for mounting your breakaway switch, and the other for mounting your 6-pole connector. It's compatible only with Roadmaster Motorhome mounted tow bars. And now when you're ready to use your baseplate, we'll need to put our tow bar pins in. These can easily be removed by pulling the pin, turning it sideways and sliding it out. When you want to install it, just reverse the procedure. Now we're ready to hook up our tow bars to our baseplate. Just slide out your tow bar, line it up with the hole on your baseplate pin, and then lock it down on the other side. It's easy to install with only minor drilling required. Let's show you how to do that now. To begin, we're going to need to remove our fascia. We'll start by removing two 7mm bolts from our passenger side headlight, and then we'll remove the same 2 bolts on our driver's side headlight. Then remove the 6 T15 Torx screws from the top of your grille. Then remove the 5 T15 Torx screws from your fender liner. You'll do this on both sides. Now we'll need to peel back the fender liner just where our front bumper meets our fender. Take a little screwdriver and go between your fender liner and your bumper there to pull it down. And behind it, you'll see that there's a bolt that we need to remove. We'll remove this with the 7mm socket. There'll be another bolt just like this on the other side. Remove that one next. Now we're under the front driver's bumper, and we're going to remove the 4 bolts that go underneath our front mud flap here. Remove those with a 7mm socket. You'll then do the same thing on the passenger side. And then you can set your mud flap aside. Then remove the 8 bolts that go across your front. You're going to do that again with a 7mm socket. And then on our driver's side, we're going to remove the 5 7mm bolts here. And then we'll repeat that on our passenger side. And then set it aside. Now we're ready to remove our fascia. Get behind the bumper and then pull outward. And then you can just work it off. And on your passenger side, you'll need to remove the electrical connector here for your lights. Slide the red tab outward to unlock it. Then you can press down on the release tab in the middle and just pull out. And then we'll set it aside for later. Then we need to take out the 2 bolts remaining in our headlamp. There'll be one in the front underneath. You'll take that out with a 7mm socket. And there'll be another one on the side, and you'll use the same socket. Do that for both headlamps. Then we're going to remove the headlamp. There's a tab located on top. Just lift up to get it off that tab. And there's also one located on the side. Just pull the small plastic piece outward to release that one. And your headlamp assembly will slide out. We'll need to disconnect the connector. Again, you'll have to push the red tab back to unlock it, press the release, and then pull outward. Go ahead and remove your other headlight now. We'll need to reposition our washer bottle out of the way. You can either drain the bottle and set it aside, or just use some bungee cords or something else to hold it out of the way. There will be 3 bolts, one located at the top, on the side and down below, and 1 nut. And you'll remove all of those with a 10mm socket. Now that all our bolts are removed, we'll need to reposition this out of the way. To make it easier to reposition it, you can disconnect the clip on this tab here with a screwdriver. That'll give you a little more slack to move it, because we don't want to disconnect these hoses unless you are planning on draining it. We're not going to be draining ours. You'll then need to disconnect your electrical connectors. Again, pry out the red tab, press in on the release tab, and pull it out. Do the same for your blue. To remove this style connector, you can pull up on this tab here and that'll release it. However, I find it's much easier to just take a screwdriver and get behind the release tab and then just push upward. Do that for both your pump motors. Go ahead and slide your washer bottle off of the stud below. You may need to give it some twists so you can get it down. And just slowly work it out of there. Careful not to stretch your hoses. Once you've got it out of there, just set it up inside your engine compartment. I went ahead and took a bungee cord. That way it'll hold it upright just to keep anything from spilling out of it. And that'll keep it up out of our way. On our passenger side, we'll need to remove the ground strap. Your air inlet to your engine here, right behind it. Down below, you'll see the nut with the ground strap on it. You can see it passing right by our air conditioning lines. We'll remove that with a 10mm socket. Remove the passenger side lower subframe bolt using a 21mm socket. Then take your support bracket for your passenger side. You'll know it's the passenger side because the ear will face towards the center of the vehicle. Place that up next to your subframe and then reinstall the bolt that you just removed. Now we'll take one of the longest bolts included in the kit, slide on a flat washer, go through our bracket that we just put on, place the 1-inch spacer over the bolt, followed by a flat washer, and one of the wedge-shaped spacers with the small end facing towards the bracket or the outside of the vehicle. And then slide the bolt up through the frame. When we come out on top, we'll again put another one of the wedge-shaped spacers on top with the small end facing outward, followed by a flat washer, lock washer, and nut. We'll leave it loosely installed and then we'll repeat this same process on the other side. Now torque down all of your hardware using a 19mm socket. You may need a 19mm wrench to hold the nut on the other side. Torque it to the specifications in your instructions. Using your bracket as a template, we're going to drill out 3 holes here into our pinch weld. We'll be using a 3/8 inch drill bit, and we're going to do this on both sides. A little bit of lubricant will make it drill a little bit easier. Just drill a hole right through the center. And repeat that for the 2 remaining holes on this side and the 3 on the other side. Now that all the holes are drilled out, we'll take the 1-inch long bolts provided in the kit, slide it through the hole. On the back side, we'll place on a lock washer followed by a nut. Repeat that for all the holes that you drilled out. Then torque down all of your hardware using a 14mm socket and wrench. Next, trim your air deflector. I've already gone ahead and marked it here. This will make enough room for our base plate to fit. You can do this with a rotary tool or just a pair of tin snips. I'm just going to go in and cut along the line that we made. And repeat that on the other side. Take your base plate and line it up with the appropriate holes. Make sure everything lines up properly and fits, and if it does, we can go ahead and install our hardware. Now take the shorter 1/2-inch bolts provided in your kit, slide them through your base plate and through your bracket, and on the other side we'll be placing on lock washers and nuts. Now torque all of your hardware per the specifications in your instructions using a 19mm socket and wrench. All that's left before we reinstall everything is trimming our fascia so that our base plate connecting points will pass through. We'll just be trimming out this piece here between our two edges at the lower portion of our bumper. You can do this with an Exacto knife, tin snips, or a cutting wheel. We're going to use the cutting wheel so we don't splinter any of the plastic around it. Then you can take a file or a razor blade and go back and just clean up any unsightly material. Now you repeat this same process in the same location on the other side. Now's a good time to take your front fascia, set it into place, and make sure that your holes all line up. If all of your holes line up properly, then we can go ahead and reinstall all the components that we removed to install our base plate. And now when you're ready to use your base plate, we'll need to put our tow bar pins in. And now that we've got everything hooked up to our base plate, we're ready to hit the road. So to complete our entire flat tow setup, we're going to be using Roadmaster's base plate, part number RM-523193-5, taillight wiring kit, part number RM-152-LED, tow bar, part number RM-522, and in conjunction with this, we're also going to be using Roadmaster's 7-wire to 6-wire straight cord kit, part number RM-98146-7. Charge light kit, part number RM-156-25, SMI braking system, part number SM-99251, Roadmaster safety chain cables, part number RM-645, and Roadmaster's high-low adapter, part number RM-072-2. And that completes our installation of Roadmaster's EZ5 baseplate kit on our 2018 Chevrolet Equinox.
Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com and leave a comment if you have any questions.